So Albert, I give you the mic, and I'll let you share your screen for the presentation if you have one. And just a little rule: if you can keep your microphone on mute during the presentation, and just when you want to speak, you can reopen the microphone. And we have the chat if you want to share any questions as well. We will try to answer them either after the presentation or even during, if there are technical issues. So thank you very much for those who are here already, and I'll let Albert present his work on the with artisanal fishers in Cabo Verde. Thank you, Albert.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Aurelien, for this, first of all, for organizing these webinars, and thank you for inviting us. I am Albert, as Aurelien said. I am the director, one of the founders and the director of Project Biodiversity, Proyecto Biodiversidad, here in Sal Island. And I am going to be presenting this, although the team behind our work with artisanal fisheries is very big, and everybody is key for the success of this program. I'm going to switch off my video because our internet connection is not great. So I just want to make sure that all goes smooth. But I'll be sharing the screen now in a minute. Okay. I hope that you can see the presentation, the first slide.
Yes. We can see it. Yeah. Cool.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so as Aurelien said, I will be presenting our work with artisanal fisheries here in Sal Island. This project started with funds from the CPF, Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, but after the first year, 2 years, it was already like being quite successful, the program. So new funders came in and helped us increase the scope and the reach of this program. So MAVA funded a part of the program, Jeff through the small grant program, Canada fund for small initiative also funded part of the work that we had with the community. Project Biodiversity, Proyecto Biodiversidad, is a local NGO funded in Sal Island in 2015. It was funded by a group of young conservationists that were basically working on sea turtle conservation. That was all our background. However, on the foundation, we already decided that we will work not only with sea turtles, that our objective was working a lot with the communities to solve their problems, and therefore the problem of conservation. But also we would work with the private sector. Now, Sal Island is very touristic. It welcomes around 500,000 tourists per year, and it's a very small island also. So the tourism sector is putting a lot of pressure into the ecosystems. So we work a lot with them to try to make them sustainable, as well as, of course, with schools and other community groups from the island. Well, I don't know if you guys know where Cabo Verde is. I recently was in the APAC, in the Protected Areas Congress, African Protected Areas Congress in Rwanda, and to my surprise, nearly all participants, they didn't know where Cabo Verde was. Apart of course, they forgot to put all the islands on the map of Africa. And Cabo Verde is around 500 kilometers offshore from Dakar. And you can see this little island on the northeastern point. This is Sal Island. you can see the island in more details, and you can see the protected areas that we have. You can see like big protected areas are marine, and also you can see the key biodiversity areas in red lines. So that's just to show you that actually the coverture of the protected areas is not so bad. The issue, as you will see, is the lack of enforcement for the protected areas. I said the tourism is the main motor. For you to know, tourism represents around 25% of national GDP, and this is direct GDP. Because actually we know that with services related to tourism, it gets up to almost 40% of the national GDP. So pretty important. Now, let's talk about the fishers. So to understand our approach to working with the artisanal fisheries, we need to see the background of the fisheries. And I'm sure that this is just a reflect of most of the fishing communities in West Africa. Depleted stocks, fish stocks. I'm pretty sure that this is the same from many places. Although we don't really have much data, because the work with artisanal fisheries here in SAL is just started, so we can't really have much comparison. What we know is from the artisanal fishers is that every year they have to spend much more time in the water in order to fish at least the same amount of fish that they would fish before. Actually, now they are reporting the last month we had some meetings, and some fishermen, they report that in some weeks if they are lucky, they can actually cover the costs of going out for fishing. So there's a clear decrease on the fish stocks, probably for a lack of proper management of the fisheries. Then we have the precarious working conditions in the fishing sector, in the artisanal fishing sector. So when we started this project, what we did was a deep analysis on the activities of the artisanal fisheries, and you can see here part of the results of this assessment. This is the punctuation, and so all the fishers that we interviewed. This is the punctuation that they gave to different aspects of their activity. Well, you can see like landing ports and piers, almost everything. Sales, access to credit, safety and healthy, fishing equipment. It's pretty much everything. It's below 2, if not everything. So there was a clear need of support to this sector. It's a very vulnerable fishing. It's very vulnerable, the artisanal fisheries here in Sal Island. Then, of course, we have the lack of knowledge. As I said at the beginning, like we don't really know what is the stocks. Here in Cabo Verde, one of the main issues that we have is that fishing authorities, all the reports, all the studies, all the research that they do, and therefore all the decisions that they make are based on the fish stocks, so the catches on a few islands. And the thing is that the different islands are each island is very different. So you here in the picture, you can see a blue dotted grouper, which is very, it's a very valued fish for in Cabo Verde and for tourism industry. Actually, like a lot of tourists, they ask for the blue dotted grouper. What we see is that in some islands like Sal, is very sandy island. So groupers, they are rockfish. They grow on cavities, on rock cavities. But because this is very flat, this is very sandy, it doesn't have the same capacity of reproduction that it has in other islands where maybe they are more volcanic, more rocky seafloors. But again, base their knowledge and they base their decisions on other islands that are completely different from this one. So this is one issue. By supporting the authorities with better knowledge. And then, of course, we have, limited law enforcement. I say limited, and I'm being very, very generous with this word, because actually we could say that there is no law enforcement on the artisanal. And this is one of the main complaints also from the communities. There is no law enforcement. Like we have a lot of issues of some. What is the work that we've done? Okay, so our approach was focused on working on 3 big areas, which is management of marine protected areas, and then building the capacity of the artisanal communities. And I'm not talking only about fishers, but I'm talking about fishermen, about fishmongers, and also about the community itself, because sometimes the fishing associations, the fishermen associations, they also have people that are not fishers or fishmongers, but they want to support and they want to participate on their activity. So as I said, we wanted to work on the marine protected areas management, and to work with in the sea. Basically, we had to work with the artisanal fishers directly. To work on the fish stocks, we had to work with the fishmongers, and later we had to work with the end consumers, because at the end, whoever is consuming, whoever is buying the product, it also has a big say on what is going to be accepted as a product. So basically, as you can see, we work with all the value chain of artisanal fisheries. So that's why our approach is very broad and very integrated. So Guardians of the Sea, or Guardiões do Mar. This is probably the biggest project that we have with artisanal fishers. So basically what this program, what it does is that it selects some of the fishermen of the different communities, and we turn them into guardians of the sea. Because it's clear that our NGO, like many other NGOs, we don't have the capacity of being in the ocean. We don't have boats. So we can't go and monitor, for instance, what's going on in the marine protected areas. Therefore, we need the fishermen on our side. So this is what Guardians of the Sea kind of does. This is a project that is implemented in Sal Island, but it was actually created in the island of Mayo by our sister NGO, Mayo Biodiversity Foundation. They started that project many years ago, and we decided to replicate it here in Sal Island. Currently, this project now is being implemented in many other islands of the country. I think it's about 6 of the 9 islands with population, let's say, has this project now, or is it starting to be implemented. So you can see that it's a very popular and very successful project that is now being replicated everywhere. I think also in Sao Tome and Principe, they started this year to implement this project. So what do they do? Main objective of the Guardians of the Sea is the monitoring of the megafauna, marine megafauna. We're talking about cetaceans, seabirds, sea turtles, sharks, rays, and also reporting the illegal fishing activities. So anytime that they see something that is illegal, something that is going on the sea, they register it. But they don't report it directly to the authorities, because that will be a mistake. Sometimes we're talking about colleagues and even family members, that they are doing something wrong. What they do is that they have a register, they pass it over to us, and then we create regular reports to the authorities So at least the authorities, they know what's going on and they have the information to react. So what do they get, the fishers? Because, okay, you can imagine fishermen, as I said at the beginning, every year, it's more difficult for them to fish and to get the benefits that they need. So for us, it was very important to decide how we would compensate the fishermen that were participating on the program. At the beginning, our idea was to pay the fuel, give them the fuel that it will take for them to go out doing their activity. I didn't say that at the beginning, but the Guardians of the Sea, they go out to fish as normal they used to do. So we don't stop their activity. It's just that we ask them to be vigilant during their activity. So going back to the contributions that the program has to the fishermen, we are thinking about paying them the fuel so they can go out and do what we are asking them to do. But we came to reality that what we wanted is to make this as a deal. We didn't want them to do this because they were getting some money in exchange. We wanted to get them on board so they would do it because they believed in that. And so we crossed the idea of giving them fuel, and then we started thinking about other ways of compensating, and also not only compensating the actual fishermen that were participating on the program, but also compensating the whole community of fishers. Because as I said, this activity can have an impact in the whole community, not only on the Guardians of the Sea. So basically, one of the main things that we did, and actually the most appreciated thing, fishermen agree that the most important thing was the training. So the training was very. At the beginning of the program, we did an assessment similar to the one I showed you at the beginning, and we assessed like what were the needs, the opportunities for the communities, and based on that study, based on that report, we then created a plan of activities to support the community. And then we came up with all this training. Of course, if we wanted the fishermen to go out and record observations of marine megafauna, we had to train them on identification of marine megafauna. So we did that. We created some booklets with some visual guidelines. On top of that, we had to show them how to use the GPS, because they had to register the GPS. We had to train them how to record the data. And another important thing was ensuring that the conditions. We wanted to improve their safety conditions while they were doing this activity. So we did some training on first aid safety. You can see the picture on the left. We show them also how to handle fish, so it's like healthier and safer for the consumers. And also one thing that we realized is that they didn't really know the fishing legislation of Cabo Verde. And that was a concern, of course, because you cannot tell them don't fish here or don't fish that if you don't really know where is what. For instance, they didn't know where the marine protected areas were. So we went and we showed them on the boat. You can see the picture here on the left. Here we went with them to show them where the limits of the marine protected areas were. And we brought in the fishing inspectors of the island so they could explain what are the fishing regulations. We also improved their safety. So part of the Guardians of the Sea, for each Guardian of the Sea, we gave 2 sets of equipment. One was the monitoring kit. So basically, we're talking about a camera, some binoculars, the GPS, the forms, etc. But also we gave them a safety kit because they never had anything. They never brought with them any kind of safety equipment. So we gave them this safety kit that they kept all the time. So you can see on the pictures some life jackets, some, I don't remember the name now, some first aid kits. We gave them some safety material, like to make noise, to signal themselves when they are lost on the ocean. And another important thing that we gave them, it was a marine radio. And this was a game changer, actually, because it helped them in their activity in many, many different ways that we were not expecting. They used to, they started communicating to each other in terms of safety, but also in terms of like where it was not possible to fish. For instance, they base a lot of their force fishing tuna. But in Sal Island, we have a problem with some sharks and some dolphins that they catch their tuna. So they started communicating with each other on the radio, telling them, don't come here because today we have dolphins are around here, go somewhere else. So that was also good. We gave them fuel tanks to put the fuel because they were using plastic bottles that they were throwing to the ocean. So, we wanted also to help them reduce the pollution and some cool boxes for their catches. But I said that I wanted to help also the community, the whole community, not only the guards of the sea, the fishermen. And so what we did is that we trained the fishing community, the fishing associations, on how to manage funds, how to write project proposals. We developed an organizational strategic and action plan that they should be following and that we are actually using when we are applying for new funds. So we basically help them in their organizations. And at the end of this process of training and capacitating, what we did is that we opened a call for small projects. We had some funds, and we wanted them to apply for the funds. So in Sal Island, we have 3 fishing communities. So each of them had the opportunity to apply for, I think it was 5,000 euros fund. And they did. Of course, we helped them on this process, but they did. And you can see on the left, for instance, you have, they decided that they wanted to construct a little area with a fuel tank. You don't see the fuel tank, it's on the left space. And that's because this community, the fishermen of this community, every time that they went fishing, they had to go to take a public transport, go to nearby city, the fuel tanks, and go, and that has to be at night, and then come back to their community to go fishing. Euros of money that they would spend only to go and buy the fuel. So the association decided that they needed in their communities. So they applied for that fund. We get some collaborators, and then they build this area. Now they don't have to spend money to go on transport to go to buy the fuel. So that's improvement of livelihoods. Suddenly they have more money that they can spend on their families. And on the right side, you have the community of Santa Maria, and they decided that they need a big cool box. I don't know how to call this, a big fridge. But also on the right, of the president of the association in blue, you have a ice producing machine. So they identified that they needed that. So this is what we did. So far now we have 40 fishes that are joined the Guardians of the Sea, which it's around 25 boats from 3 communities. So now we have secured more funding for the next 3 years. And so this number should go up to 40 boats and around 70 fishers that will be joining the program. But of course, we have the fishmongers, and fishmongers are as important as the fishermen. In Sal Island, fishmongers, they have a really important role because they are the ones that receive the fish from the fishers. So they are the ones that sell the fish, that decide the price on the fish. So they have a really like central role on the value chain of the artisanal fisheries. So basically, with the fishmongers, we call them a mujer de mar, which means woman of the sea. And we did exactly the same. We did a very deep assessment with them, trying to realize where were the weaknesses and the opportunities of their community, of their economic activity. Some of the objectives were the same: improving the working conditions of fishmongers, and empowering basically the sector because they were not associated. So for you to have an idea, fishmongers, they were not represented on the fishing associations of the island. So through this project, we managed to give voice to these fishmongers, and now they are part of the fishing association of the island. So now they have a say on the decisions. I already explained that we did SWOT analysis. We developed strategic and action plans, as we did with the fishermen. We did the same with the fishmongers, and from those, we set up a plan of training and support for the activities. I have to say that this was also like really important, and because it's the first time that fishmongers were actually considered by anybody, and they did appreciate that a lot. So now we have now through this action plan and strategic action plans that we have, now we are able to design better project proposals for international funding agencies. So you can see some of the pictures, some of the training that we did. We brought people from other islands to train them on handling of fishes. What else did we did? We did training on like how they can process the fish, so they don't have fish wasted, so they can process it and keep it for longer. We deliver equipment. What else did we do? Well, we did like a lot of activities with them. So basically, we were like engaging them and empowering them. We did this exchange of these fishmongers, some of the fishmongers to another island, to Santiago Island, which is the capital, to visit this company, which is called Gustin. You see the picture on the right. And this was a really nice example of a fishmonger from that island that she started selling on the streets, but then she invested all her money in her own company and in a process business. And now she's very successful. She has a very successful business. She has different shops in the capital. So they went there and they learned about all this success story. So far now we have 30 fishmongers from 3 different communities that joined the program. Again, now we have a new project for the next 3 years that is also going to work with the fishmongers to like keep helping improve their activity. And finally, we have the consumers. So as I said at the beginning, the value chain it ends on the consumers of the end product, and those are mainly general public, of course, people that buy the fish, and also the restaurants. So what we did is that we adapted this campaign that is called Sustentável do Mar ao Prato, which means sustainable from the sea to the plate. And this initiative was started in São Vicente Island by our friends from the NGO Biosfera. So they started this campaign, and we just brought it, the same campaign with the same logo, the same objective to Sal Island. Now I can say that this campaign is also being replicated in different islands of the archipelago, and actually we are trying to officialize a certificate that would certify the restaurants that only use sustainable fishes that has been fished sustainably. So basically here we did this awareness campaign with the general public. We put posters everywhere on the island, explaining like that it's very important to like consume the fish that is actually it respects the laws of the country. We have several fishes that has some minimum size catch. You can see the grouper, as I was saying, but there's other fishes here, the lobsters too, and some fishes that they cannot be fished during a period. So we realized that most of the people didn't know about those things. So we made some radio programs. We put those posters on the streets, on the roads, on the bus stops, so people would know. Now people should know which fish they should buy and which fish they should not buy. And by doing this, what we also want to do is to promote the consumption of this legal size fish. And we also start talking with some restaurants, so they would join the campaign. Here, this project it didn't work that well, but that was because we started in the middle of the pandemic, and the restaurants were not very motivated on engaging with new things. They were basically trying to survive the pandemic, which is fair enough. And that's why now we're going to give it another push. But the idea behind this project is that the restaurants that join this network of sustainable fisheries, the restaurants will they agree that they will only buy legal size grouper, and that they will sell that to the consumers, to their clients, as a sustainable fish grouper. And that the consumers, they will pay on top of the normal price, they will pay an average of 50 cents. And this money would go directly back to the fishermen that fish that fish. So we were kind of like, how to say, gifting the fishermen that were following the rules, and they were fishing like good size grouper. But again, like it didn't work because of the pandemic. Now we are starting again. We have some of the restaurants. We have some restaurants that they started doing that in the middle of the pandemic. Now we have to, of course, increase the amount of restaurants. And as I said, this is happening in many other islands of the archipelago of the country. And also, we are in talks already with the National Institute of Certifications, and they are very happy to work on this new certificate. So hopefully in the coming years, this is going to be supported by the government too. You know, some results of these programs. You can see here some results of the monitoring of the Guardians of the Sea. This is Sal Island. On the left, you can see the different dots, and those are sightings of different groups. We have turtle, we have seabirds, sharks, dolphins, rays, turtles, and sharks on black dots. And on the right side, what you have is the tracks of the fishing, artisanal fishing boats. So we put these GPS trackers to know where they actually go fishing, and to know where most of the efforts are done. And some other results, like really nice. Fishermen are very engaged now, so they are participating in underwater cleanings. And it's not only that they participate on underwater cleanings, but now most of the fishing associations, on their celebration days, they all have one day to celebrate the association, the community. They all invite us to organize an underwater cleaning. So you can see that, you know, they are getting engaged. They are, and I think this is one of the biggest results probably, and we are really proud of it, is that the Guardians of the Sea are engaging and convincing all the officials of the community to stop having behaviors that are damaging for the wildlife. And here I have a couple of videos. Here you have the problem of the bycatch. This is the Cape Verdean shearwater, an endemic species of Cabo Verde of shearwater. And so these two fishermen, they had this problem. They were trying to fish, but they were catching the shearwater. Before they would kill the shearwater and then throw it to the ocean because they saw it as a problem. And now they are all releasing the shearwaters. Of course, they have to do it better. We need to help them reduce the problem of bycatch. So now we have a project that with Better Life, and we are going to try to do that, like helping them to reduce this problem, because of course they spend a lot of time releasing these animals. I said in the past they would just kill those animals, and the same with the sea turtles. In the past, any sea turtle that let me just get the. In the past, any sea turtle that was caught or they would find in ghost net, they will kill it. But now they are engaged, so now they are releasing most of the turtles, and this is already like a very big success of the project. That we don't really need to convince anymore the fishers of the communities, because the guardians of the sea are actually doing this work for us. For instance, during the nesting season of sea turtles, beach patrols on nearby beaches from their communities. And those are things that they have engaged by themselves. We, of course, support them on those activities. We help them with equipment and training. But my point here is that what we are doing in this program is we are giving a purpose to the fishermen. And so now they are not seen as part of the problem, as they always have been. Now they are seen as part of the solution, and they believe on that. So they are engaging themselves on the conservation of marine wildlife. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is some paintings that we did in the communities about the fishing. And here in this paint, it says in Creole, no, the future of fisheries is in our hands. Trying to like reflect on the idea of releasing all these animals. It's been more than 25 minutes. I think it's been 35, but I'm pretty sure that we still have some time for some questions. And this is the contact in case you want to contact us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Albert, and thank you very much for this inspiring presentation, and congratulations for the work that you do and that you have been doing, you and your team in Sal Islands. I think it's a lot of lesson learned that you have shared with us, and experiences that you have had all along these years. I think now that you have done this presentation, we can give the room for some questions. If you have any questions, because we have at the moment 11 participants, so you can unmute your microphone and ask for your question if you have any. I see that Cornelia, you have a question, so you can start if you want. I see you are still muted.
Hello.
Oh,
hello.
Yes. Is it
Mohammed?
Mohammed. Okay. Okay. Because.
Okay, we're getting.
Wait, Mohammed. So Cornelia, is okay now? You can.
Yeah, sorry, the cursor did not really do its job. Thank you. First of all, thanks very much, Albert, for a super interesting talk. On your, I have a suggestion and a little query in conjunction, for example, with your campaign to get people to avoid catching juveniles and enroll the consumer side through the restaurants and so on. I think potentially the labeling scheme can be very, very interesting, but you need to understand your value chain, whether it is amenable to such a thing because it can be costly to promote that and so on, and it's not always the most adapted solution, let's say, developing labels. One example is for octopus fishery in Portugal, and because it's mostly bought up by Galician traders, when they came up after a while with this own label, the Galician traders said, well, if you keep the label on, we will stop buying from you, because they were rather promoting their own label as a Galician product, etc., etc. And so all the money went down the drain, and the people stopped using the Portuguese octopus label. I'm not saying it's necessarily like this in your case, but it, just as a flag, to get support for this notion that you want to catch only adults. We have developed, in conjunction with the Small Scale Fisheries Academy in Senegal, a free app that is available in the Google Play Store. It's called Fish-Based Guide app. And it gives you, Fish-Based is the global information system on all fish in the world. It's scientifically backed up with 54,000 publications being extracted and put into the database. And for many, especially commercial species, there is measures for minimum size at which they reproduce, but also optimum size, which is a little bit bigger, and also the maximum size. If the fishers, let's say the leverage for the fishers would be, if they catch the fish at optimum size, they will have maximum catches forever, because it's the best size group where you have the relationship between individual weight and numbers of fish in the ocean. That is one, but certainly discourage catching juveniles, which is still very widely distributed. And because it will work on Android mobiles, which many people have, even consumers in the restaurant, or the restaurant people, or in schools, because you do a lot of educational activities, it can be, it gives you a flavor of being modern and science-based, but really very much grounded in your local space. And it will give you name. You put in the local name or the scientific name, but the local name in whatever language you have. If it's Cape Verde, you put whatever. You could put Cape Verde, and for Cape Verde, I think we have 1,200 names, local names, in the database. On the other hand, if you know that a common name that is being utilized is not yet in the database, well, signal, if it's published, we will put it in, so that we try to be as user-friendly and useful as possible. I mean, just as a small hint. Thank you. I wish you every possible success, because you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wrote this. One of our concerns is, for instance, the blue dotted grouper here, the minimum catch height is 27 centimeters, but we know that this is the size when it starts to reproduce. So it's really wrong also. But it's really good to have all this information. We can work with the Guardians of the Sea and try to convince them, but not also spur fishing people, because there is a lot here. It's great. Thank you very much. And about the market, we know that we saw that it's complicated. Good thing in Cabo Verde is that we are so isolated that fish is the fish that they fish here. Like, there's nobody comes in, nobody comes out. So it's a bit different. It's very touristy, but it's challenging, definitely. But thank you for the hints.
Thank you, Cornelia. Maybe Mohamed, you had a question?
Yeah, good morning or good afternoon. I don't know which parts of the world, but I'm from Freetown, Sierra Leone, working for Green Life West Africa. This is a very much a good presentation, and really it works with our context, especially in Sierra Leone. We are mostly people fish for livelihood. That is, we call it hand to mouth. But from your explanation or from your project, it is taking us right through from harvesting, processing, to that of marketing and consumption. So it is a whole process. My question will be, how does the project really capture unintended consequences? Unintended consequences, especially those things that the project was not prepared for. Like say when you are presenting, you talked about the effect of COVID, change in climate, and also the issues of exchange rates. How does the project really try to capture those unintended consequences in case they emerge? Thank you.
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest questions we don't want to have is a negative impact. And the success of the project, it's based on the fishermen need to understand they don't have a reduction on their livelihoods, but an increase on their capacity on their livelihood. So the impact has to be positive on them. And this is tricky. What we do is that we spend a lot of time with them, and we listen to them, and we talk to them, and all the projects that all the funds that we apply for, there is always a budget line that is about supporting the fishing communities. So one example was in this fishing community where they didn't have the opportunity of store fuel. And now they have. So maybe any losses could be compensated with this fact, but safety, So basically, we work together as much as we can. We try to develop strategies to improve their livelihoods and so on. But yeah, it's tricky. The good thing is that we try. This program doesn't have I have to say the indicators are not like improvement of livelihood, this is like a very constantly developing process. So it's a long process. We are there with them. We are with the community. We help them in anything. The other day, one fisherman, his boat was, so now we help with a small fundraising campaign and so on. These things we try to help them as much as we can.
Thank you, Albert. Mohamed, did it answer your question? Okay. And just as a reminder, there is a list of presents in the chat if you want to fill in to put your name in the list of presents. It's possible in the chat. You click on the link. Any other question from the participant? Okay, I had one question. Maybe I did not capture it well on the commitment that the Guardian of the Sea have to do. It's about how do you select them, and how after that how do they have to commit, because you give them some materials, you support them. So how how about this process, and how did you learn from these experiences as well? Maybe it did not work at first on the selection process, and how some fishermen were or were not involved or in these activities. So could you give us some more details on that?
Yeah, of course. I focused the presentation on the whole project, not on the process. But yeah, this is very important. At the beginning, it was hard for us to find guardians of the sea that will engage with us. So it was very important the first, because we started with six boats, and then it became like many more. So we presented the project to the associations. We asked for people to sign in on a list of people that was interested. We went through this list. We talked with all the fishermen, and we had some conditions. Like they had to be legalized. They had to have all the authorizations in place, and some of them they didn't. So what we did is that we helped them actually get all the paperwork done. We were going with them to the authorities. We were helping them doing that. So that was already like, good approach. Then they had to go through all this training plan. And only after they finished, they did become guardians of the sea. Once they become guardians of the sea, they sign an agreement with us. And we handle to them the equipment, the safety equipment. Now, we have 25 boats, but not all of them are active guardians of the sea at the same time. So we have, I don't remember now, but say we have 10 monitoring kits. So every 2 weeks, we go to the community. We go to talk to the guardians of the sea. We get the equipment. We get all the forms of observations, sightings. Then we change the kit to the next guardians of the sea. So they keep changing because we don't want to burn them either. So that was the process for the guardians of the sea. Then it just went like super fast. Friends of these guardians of the sea, of these fishermen, they saw that it was not, it was not a trick, that there was something positive to them, that it was good. And then they started talking to us that they wanted to be on the program. And for some time, we were accepting new guardians of the sea, so we were doing more training sessions. We waited until we had like 5-10 new guardians of the sea, so we did the training again. And now we have a list we have a waiting list of fishermen that want to become guardians of the sea. And luckily now we have these new funds, so we will increase the team. But yeah, I think it's about, like, as I said, it's like, taking time to do these things. And sometimes this is difficult because of the funding requirements, like sometimes you need to justify and give results. But in our case, we were lucky enough, we had time and the funders were flexible. So, that actually helped the process, adapting things and changing budget lines and all these things. It was very important also.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. There is one question, actually from Thomas. Do you have any advice to give to associations who have to begin a collaboration with local fishermen? You already answered a little bit, but do you see like where to start when, like, if you are an association and you work on biodiversity conservation, and how to start this collaboration?
To be honest, I think the most important thing is to have the right people and to be ready to have people just hanging with the fishermen. This is, I think, from my point of view, this is one of the things that made our program so successful. Like, we had the right person, and the right person wanted to stay on with the fishermen, like hanging out with them, like talking to them, playing cards with them, listening to the problems, their issues. And Sometimes I even find, sometimes I have to remind to this person that he actually works for us, not for the fishing associations. But I would say that this is the most important. Not being pretentious, not thinking that you are more than them. Actually, making sure that they understand that we complement to each other. That without them, we cannot do what we want to do, and then without us, they lack a big part of technical knowledge. I think this is the most important.
So you mean in your team you are talking about a specific profile within the staff of the NGO, actually, someone who can be more who can socialize more with fishermen and spend more time with fishermen more than staying at the office, and it's a different type of profile for the staff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is from our experience, but yeah, we had the right person, and yeah, I would say so. It's like a community person. It's a person that had a lot of experience being with the community, a lot of experience doing community initiative in his past, let's say, life, or in the other island where he used to live. He used to have a communitarian TV, a community TV for his area, and these things gave him a lot of experience on how to deal with the communities.
Thanks for that. It's a big. I think it's kind of really helpful for an NGO, this type of experience, especially when you see how one person can really change the process. Mm-hmm. Is there another question from the participants? You can raise your hand or open your mic if you have a question. I see that we have participants from different countries, but or if you want to share also an experience from another organization. I see some person from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, from Cabo Verde as well. So if you have any experience to share, it's the moment. Okay. If not, that's fine. There is one question.
Alberto, yes, it's still Thomas. Hello. Good. Yeah. So Thomas from PP, and we know each
Thomas.
Other. Hey, Alberto.
Yeah, of course.
Nice to see you, and thanks again. Just in link with my question, the first question, but I think there is a key issue about I saw some organization working with fishermen in Central Africa, and often the question coming again is about bringing on board inside the organization local people and local fishermen. So for you, is it clear that because there are some it can be, I don't know how to explain, but it can be very positive for these people to be part of your organization, because it means that you are part of the place, completely involved, completely engaged, but sometimes it can bring some difficulties too. What's your point of view about that? These fishermen, are they part of your organization, or they're just collaborators? What is the best schema in French? What is the best? How do you manage that? I don't know if I'm clear, sorry. But
yeah. I think it's a good question. And I'm sure that this will depend a lot on each community. But from my point of view, I think it's very important that both things are different. One of our efforts is in promoting the success of the fishing community associations. Because we think that the change has to come also through those. So it will not make sense, to like mix the two things. I think so. I don't really know how to explain, but I think it's important that we are like separate things that collaborate and help each other, but it's important to still be separate. Also because there's going to be always people in the community that will look at us not like very, they will not trust us very much. So if they see that it's their colleagues in their community that they collaborate with us and it works, it's different. But if they see somebody's inside, maybe they can think, okay, this is actually like, maybe like because this guy is getting paid or something.
Yes, exactly.
But it will depend on each community for sure.
Mm.
Thanks for that, Albert. I see a question from Henri. Henri, can you explain your question a little bit? You were saying, what do we think if a research like this is done across the African coast? Can you explain a little bit more and read the question that you asked in the chat?
Okay. Good afternoon here in Nigeria. My name is Henry Reynas, the coordinator of the West Africa Center here in Nigeria. My question is, we are into sea turtle conservation activities in the southernmost part of Bakassa. And one of the things we do is we work with the fishing groups. We even set up a mission where they regulate within themselves the best fishing practices and advocate on behalf of, the type of fish to catch, when to go fishing, and the type of method to use, and have some local regulation. So I think here in Nigeria, especially my area, we're into that kind of stuff. So I am saying that since this training or maybe program is looking at how fishing folks can be involved in protecting biodiversity, it's something that we are trying to see being done in Cabo Verde. So my question is, what do we think if we try to extend this kind of research across countries within the West African coasts? Because we know that almost all the coasts in West Africa and other coasts are involved in fishing activities. And so when you look at Cabo Verde and move down to the other countries, the conditions might almost be the same, yes, from what we've seen. So what do we think, since we have groups that are into monitoring in those areas? I felt that probably, won't this be possible? Is it difficult too much for PPI to collaborate with other local organizations working or other networks working in these West African countries that can go into this kind of collaborative research? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry, for the question. Albert, do you want to start answering as an NGO?
Yeah, then you can answer your part. Definitely, yes. Yeah, so as I said, the initiative now, so it started in one island in Cabo Verde, then we brought it to our island. Then now it's started in many different islands. We have here a cater from Biosfera. They are doing it in some other islands also now. So it's possible, to replicate. I think it's the idea is very easy and very basic. It's nothing special. It's nothing crazy. I think it can be replicated everywhere. As I said, it's starting. I think it started this year or last year to be implemented in Sao Tome and Principe. They did some exchange. I don't know who funded that, but they did some exchanges between countries. I think it's possible. I think it's important to have a local partner that is able to do this. I think I heard some countries, and I think it's in West Africa. I don't remember where exactly. I don't know if it was in Senegal, but that they had similar projects that were led by the fishing associations, not by environmental NGOs. So, it's possible. It doesn't need to be an environmental NGO. It just needs to be like done with care and love, I would say, and of course some funds. But that probably Aurelian can help you a bit more about that.
Well, thank you, Albert. Yes, actually, on the side of the PPI, that's already what we are doing by exchanging experiences between organizations. I think that's the role of the PPI at this stage to highlight an experience on one side and present it for others and attract the interest for others, and then after that, of course. As we do with the partners, we support them in sometime in doing exchange visits, sometime in gathering lesson learned, or monitoring with some also technical support to how to monitor the activities and try to capitalize what has been done. But we can, if there is an interest from different PPI partners to have more this type of time for exchanges. I think it's our role also to give this type of moment, and from case to case to see if it's relevant to organize exchange visit, if it makes sense. Because with PPI, it's really personalized support, so it really depends on the organization and its priorities. So this is the type of things that can be done, definitely. As you said, Henry, there is definitely a common context regarding artisanal fisheries. Now it's as Albert started to mention, is who will start to implement this type of activities. Is it a biodiversity conservation organization, or fisherman organization, or together? I think it depends of the different countries, but if on your side with the WASCON you have with your members some ideas like that, I think it will be good to promote it or to share, or maybe invite your members to a meeting like that, to be able again to share this lesson learned. I think that's how I see the role in the future. And as Albert mentioned, it's still a recent initiative, and it was started I think 2016 in Mayo or 17, so not that long, but little by little it's growing. Maybe Albert, you can give some word on that. Are you going toward like a standard with kind of rules to control a little bit the format, or yeah, you leave it free like that?
No. So, excuse me. Actually, the brand Guardio is Domar. The brand or the concept is registered by an NGO here in Cabo Verde, and we decided that because we didn't want to, so we wanted to like keep it as it is, genuine. We didn't want like new formulas and new, because this is how it works. And one of the that we have is that, okay, we're just gonna pay the fishermen to do this, and we're gonna pay the fishermen to do that, and we're gonna compensate with money, and this is a big mistake from our point of view. So there are some rules. This is one of them. Like, there's no compensation. There's no economic compensation. You need to support them with equipment, with material, but moreover with training. And then, if you want to compensate the whole fishing association, the whole fishing community, but with head, not just like, okay, here, have that. No, like some governments do. Like, here, some boats or some engines, and then. But they don't need that, do they? They just need, in this case, they need a fuel fuel station in the community. They didn't need a new boat. They just needed like fuel, so they don't have to spend like 10 euros per week on just going to buy the fuel. So yeah, those are one of the things. We have a MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that all partners that wants to join the program here in Cabo Verde, they have to sign, they have to agree on. And sorry, and there we have some of these rules, you know. Sorry, but definitely I agree with Aurelian. Like all the network in Cabo Verde, we are used to work with each other. Some weeks ago, we had a big training in one of the islands where NGOs from all the country came, and we exchanged, you know, like about this activity, about this project, and about other activities here, there. He explained his experience with certification. We explained our experience with the gardens. So I think that this is really good, and it can be, as I said, it can be replicated you know, that's why we are here today, and I am happy to share more, but all the partners for sure, they're gonna be happy to share more, to welcome you guys here in Cabo Verde and see what we are doing. I think that this is really valuable.
Thank you, Albert. Any other question from participant? I have one last question, Albert, on the you didn't mention that much the position of the authorities on that initiative, because you were mentioning the fishermen, the restaurant, the NGO. What is the feedback from the authorities on that initiative? That seems to be, from what we hear, it seems to be quite accepted by the fishermen. But in the same time, they are doing the job of the MPA manager by monitoring. So what is the position of different authorities, local authorities, and in that aspect?
It's a complicated question. I would say that in Cabo Verde, or at least in our case, it's try to work more with communities rather than the authorities, because we know that the authorities, they will have lack of resources, they will have lack of everything, not lack of interest, but sometimes, I don't know. So we work with the authorities, of course. As I said, for instance, some of the training were done by the fishing inspector, so that was good. They know what we are doing, and the local authorities, the local technicians based on the island, they acknowledge that this is important, that the fishers are super engaged and so on. Central authorities, I don't know yet what is the role, and because we don't really need them. There's not much law enforcement going on, and we are not asking for much law enforcement. We are just basically offering them a lot of information so they can base their decisions better. Of course, we try to engage with the maritime police, and so they can activate some interventions, and it did happen in the past. Some joint intervention, but it's very punctual, and I wouldn't say that the authorities have a big role in this kind of program.
Okay, so you still need to be there to push the dynamic behind this initiative at this stage.
Because it's participative, and the truth is that this is a participative style of management. So we are not doing anything out of, we're not taking over the responsibilities or anything. Nobody's doing anything. It's just campaign and research. So but they all know, and they actually like now and then they support. You know, we wanted to do an exchange with fisher. We can like with some money and so on. So they are there. They're there. It's just that they haven't decided yet where to start.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Albert. I see that Henry, you have a question.
Yes, it will be like a question, a suggestion from my end. First, thank you for the responding very eloquently to the first question I asked concerning the collaboration. My second question is the thinking, because we that are involved in sea turtle conservation, especially into bycatch, we focus more with working with the fishermen. So each day we engage with them. So many times we set priorities on their activities and all that. The individual scale, many times when we do planning, we focus more sometimes on, many times organizations try to look at authorities that can influence without looking at the very actors, which are the practical fishermen who goes to fishing and come back the next day and sell fish to the local people. So in reaching out to this kind of programs, I know from the discussion is more on what happened on Cape Verde, you know, but it would be nice to look at organizations, conservation organizations, fishing organizations, or maybe a network of organizations in the various countries, or maybe if it is a West Africa, for example, we look at the West African NGOs, we look at West African networks that are into conservation or that are into fisheries. So be able to pass on this kind of information to them. I think it would be nice to have it in a way of spreading this initiative. Yes, the idea comes from maybe the PPI, yes, but there is now collaboration between the PPI, who are the real initiators, and the ground workers, who are maybe the network, who now reach out to the communities that are involved in this kind of fishing. So going further from the previous response you gave, there is hope that the whole idea is flexible, you know, and there is possibility that it can express this kind of information to other people. So I think after this kind of engagement, which create room for interactions, create room for meeting with others, and create room for more exchanges, which we don't know yet. We are just few, but many persons out there may want to get this kind of opportunities. They'll be glad to have this kind of opportunities working with us. So the organizing office will now think of a way to reach out to the various networks. For example, WASCOM in West Africa, PPI at least knows about WASCOM. Or you may not know about the organizations in WASCOM and their capacities. Many of them work in the fishing aspect and also into conservation. So it would be nice to filter this kind of information so that the idea will spread other than maybe just on the Cape Verde. That's what I'm trying to contribute to the whole idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And yes, so we see a real interest on the spreading this type of initiative and see what other initiatives are done in the other countries. And to me, networks like WASCOM too have the possibility to start also to see in their network in their country if there are other initiatives like that or other interest, and then make some suggestion to try to make this connection as well and to make these exchanges. Today it's in English. The discussion is in English. I think we can also have this type of discussion in French to reach also other countries in Africa and other organizations. So this is also maybe an opportunity for the future to dynamize this type of exchanges and maybe build on also with documents that can be shared with different organizations. And I see a comment. Cornelia is sharing a link in the chat in different language on the empowerment of the small-scale fisheries academy. Okay, thank you. I think we'll have a look at this. I see the time. We still have 2 minutes. I don't know if there is a last comment or question from any of the participants. Otherwise, I see that we will have we still have, if you want to write your name in the list of presence in the chat, so that we can recontact you for future webinar or to exchange about this subject in the future. Please click on the list of presence in the chat. And so I see that there is an interest, there is a possibility. We need also to see and to hear from different organizations about how to keep these discussions on the work with fishermen, because I think it's important, and we have had different experience from the organization here. So this is something that we can keep in mind, and also we at the PPI we are very welcome to hear from you about ideas about that, how to do that, and maybe in French in the future. That's also a possibility. I will thank Albert for the time that you spent to prepare this and to make these nice presentations. Actually, I found it really clear, and we had a wide approach of your initiative, and it was really interesting. And so in the name of everyone, I would want to thank you for that, and to wish you good luck and continuation on this, and hope that the work with the other NGOs, which is really amazing. It started with 1 NGO in Cabo Verde. Now it's up to six NGOs. So it's growing. So I think it's really positive to for this, and it will definitely lead to some exchange of experience in the future. So thanks again for that. I will with the PPI, we will share the record of this webinar, so that you can, if you are interested, look at it again, or share it with your colleagues or organization. Albert, a last word before we close the webinar.
No, thank you very much, Aurelian, for organizing this webinar, and I think I always say good things about the PPI, and that this initiative is really good, and because like this project, this initiative in Sal Island was not funded by PPI, but still, like you knew about it and you thought it was interesting for the region. So I think that tells a lot of you guys. So thank you very much. And for the rest of the participants, yeah, let's keep in contact. Let's work on it. Give suggestions and share this with everybody. So here, however, we are a network of NGOs. So I'm sure that a bit bigger in the coming years.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for attending the webinar, and wishing you all a nice day, and talk to you soon, and maybe meet you soon somewhere. Okay, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.